And since you say water, let's talk water, because then we get into where my passion is the soils. Yes, the correct fertilizers. But, look at our water systems, what's going on with them. All these synthetic fertilizers that these people have been using for so long and are going to continue using. There's some of these people that are never going to change. But that's big industry.
Yeah.
We're not going to call them out. I think most people know what we're talking about. But we can make a difference, and we can make a big difference because there is more of us.
Yes.
Okay. If instead of putting stuff on your lawn that is 10, synthetics, oxide form, fertilizers, literally 10% gets taken up. If you put a 10 down on the ground, 10% of that is going to get used by let's say grass, 10%. What happens to the rest of it?
Runs off.
And then what runoff, what happens? 90%.
90%.
90% of those fertilizers that you people are using, 90% of that, okay, is going into our aquifers, which is also going into our lakes, into our canals, blue-green algae, all these things, oyster beds disappearing,
I've heard about
all
that.
this. Barnacles not being back up in the Loxhatchee River. I grew up on it. Barnacles everywhere, oysters everywhere. You can go on seawalls now and minimal. Well, it's because of all the junk. So let's change that. Let's be like Mother Nature. The correct elements, proper nutrition, things that stick, don't just run through. That way plants have plenty of time to uptake it. They're going to use it. There's always going to be a little bit of flow, but that's not toxic chemicals.
But it's not ending up in the aquifers and all these. Yeah,
no,
that's a good point, man. No. 10%.
10%.
Wow.
I heard a figure years ago, it's about 10 years ago. They say the Mississippi River, they say over 80% of all the fertilizer used throughout the farm belt, over 80% of it ends up in the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, not Gulf of America.
Gulf of America, yeah, okay. It's going to take some getting used to, but yeah. So for so long, it's been
all of ours, Gulf of America. Jeez, that's
it's
awful.
Like 80%.
And by the way, guys, that nitrogen, they said that blue-green algae and all of this was because of the nitrogen and all these things. And by the way,
phosphorus.
And also cow nitrogen from Ocala and stuff. I heard that was a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
But also the fertilizers they're using. I mean, man, it ends up in the water. That's what the bottom line is. Mm-hmm. It's not no good.
No. So if we can do what we are doing,
man,
providing proper nutrition, not
and
using
awareness,
toxic chemicals,
talking about
it,
awareness,
have people listen, and you can take everything to heart, or you can just hear it a little bit. But if you hear it enough times, eventually it's going to sink in.
It's true.
And I don't have any problem talking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
I enjoy talking about it.
We're in the garden